Happy Friday, everybody. This is Danilo Bogdanovic, Realtor and Premier Agent with Redfin, coming to you with a market update. It's been a hectic year. If you're a buyer, you definitely know. If you're a seller, you also know. And if you're a consumer, you're probably getting a lot of mixed information. A lot of these mass media outlets are publishing national news. A lot of it is delayed. It's lagging. The statistics are old. Sometimes they're even spinning it to be in the favor of the tone of the article. I'm just here to give you the straight facts, and also specifically for Northern Virginia. You know, and even within Northern Virginia, the hyperlocal market, a specific subdivision or cluster or community is going to have a different market than the one literally next door. So this is for Northern Virginia, and if you like, hyperlocal market statistics, please reach out, let me know. Happy to do it for you and your home specifically. So, long story short, this year has been extremely hectic. It's been as much of a seller's market as it was in 2021 and the first half of 22. The first half of 22 being the craziest seller's market ever in U.S. history. We hit a peak in the end of June, July of 22, then we corrected down. We went from a very seller's market, an 11 out of 10, to a balanced market. And then so far this year, we're back at a 9, even a 10 arguably. And the 5% that we went down the second half of last year, we are right back to those peaks. And we went up 5%. We're at that peak of last summer, if not above it in some instances. Why is that? Very simple, supply and demand. And I know you're thinking, well, the interest rates are super high. Yes, but the discrepancy between the supply and demand, the ratio, and the supply being so low, it's so big that it's overcoming the huge, quote unquote, high interest rates. So to give you an example, bring some statistics for you. So year to date, from January 1st through the end of May, the new pendings, meaning homes going under contract, is down 26.7% over the same time period in 22. What that means is homes going under contract, which means demand. Those are buyers. So buyer demand is down 26.7%. But supply is down an average of 36.4%. So that's new listings, homes coming on the market. So there's that discrepancy of basically 10%. So we have 10% fewer listings than demand. So even with the demand being down, the supply is down even more. So there's a 10% gap. And that's even greater than it was last year and the year before. So that gap is increasing. Now the biggest discrepancy was in April, where the new pendings, meaning homes going under contract, was 28.9%. below what it was in April of 22, but the new listings was down 48%. That's almost double. So that's why the market is so much of a seller's market. Now, another thing, months of supply. So generally speaking, 90 days is a balanced market. 1 month. We have 1 month supply. That's it. Now, if you're a buyer, you know this very, very well, and a seller. Out of all of the homes that have sold January 1st through May 31st, 75.8% of those homes sold in under 10 days, with the majority selling in under a week. So 3/4 of the homes hitting the market are priced properly and are selling in roughly a week or less, at the most 10 days. The other 25%, and this is in any market. So even in a hot seller's market, you always have sellers that just think that their home is worth more than it really is. And that 25% currently is overpriced. Now, in a normal market, it's usually around 35%, because even if you're a little bit overpriced in this market, maybe in a week or two, the market catches up to what you're asking if the market continues to appreciate. So that kind of takes that number down a little bit. But still, 25% are still overpriced. And coincidentally, roughly 25% of all properties, this is also nationwide, not just locally, do have a price adjustment down. So, but these are still very seller's market statistics. I mean, 3/4 of properties in under 10 days is nuts. Now, what's interesting is when you're looking at the different segments. So, for example, right now, 1,501 single-family detached homes in Northern Virginia sold in the first 5 months of this year, so January 1st through May 31st. Of those, 805 were over $1 million. So more than half of the single-family homes that have sold in Northern Virginia the first 5 months of this year were over $1 million. So that kind of gives you an idea of where the money is and what people are looking for, what the majority of the choices are, things of that nature. So you actually have more choices above $1 million than below $1 million, which in this area, one could say, well, there's just as many people buying over $1 million as there are under $1 million, but it depends on who you ask. I mean, you ask somebody buying a $700,000 home right now, and they're quote unquote middle class, and they're very frustrated because there's so few to choose from, yet there are a lot of buyers competing for that, price point. The lower the price point, the bigger the buyer pool. So the more competition you have. That's just, 101. Now, what's interesting, as far as attached or townhomes, as we call it, the majority are between the $600,000 and $800,000 mark. Okay, but 400 to $1 million is the bigger, the biggest chunk of it, with 600 to 800 being the biggest within that chunk. So that kind of gives you an idea of the typical price for a townhome in this area is between 600,000 and 800,000 right now. Now, condos and co-ops, we have very, very few co-ops, most are condo ownership. 525 have sold the first 5 months of this year, which is actually more than townhomes, which is very interesting. It's usually not the case, but here we are with more condos selling than townhomes. Just a theory, I think that, as things get more expensive, you have people getting priced out. So maybe someone could have afforded a townhome, let's say last year, second half of last year when prices went down 5%, maybe rates were at 6.25%, they could have afforded a townhome. Now, rates are at 7%, and that townhome is now 5% more, and they're looking at either a smaller townhome or even a condo or co-op. So that might be one of the reasons. It just might be, it is what it is, but I just want to point that out. The average price for the condos and co-ops ranges between 200 and 800,000. So there's no really rhyme or reason. There's no middle ground to that. It just depends. I mean, there's condos that are selling for 200,000. That are some penthouses that are multi-million dollars. But 2 to 800,000 seems to be the crux of it. Now, average days on market, that's another one. So remember I said that 75% of properties sell in less than 10 days? Well, the average days on market this time last year was 9. That's the average days on market. It's up, but it's still only 13. So 13 days on the market is the average, with 3/4 selling in less than 10 days, 25% selling in more than 10 days. So that is still, that's a 9 or a 10 on the seller's market. If one was a buyer's market, 10 is a seller's market, it's 9 or 10, Only a little bit last year did we hit 11, which was historical. So now we are butting up against the end of June. So the typical spring market, quote unquote, does usually come to an end at the end of June. And come July 4th, it's like someone slams on the brakes and the market just slows down dramatically. So will we see that? I'm not sure. We're going to have to see. The discrepancy between supply and demand is so great that even if we do see a slowdown to some sort, I still think the market's going to be very hectic and hot for sellers, even moving forward into July and August. Maybe not as much as it has been so far this year, but I don't think it's going to slow down as much as it normally does, as long as interest rates don't go any higher. Now, interest rates did go up dramatically in the last week or two. They went down to 6.25%, and they were hovering there, and people were kind of getting used to 6.25%, even 6.5%. But now, boom, they spiked to 7%. And they could go even higher, depending on how things play out with the Fed and the economy, et cetera, et cetera. So right now they're 0.75 of a point higher, they're around 7. So it is putting a little damper along with seasonality coming here in just, a week or so. Things should slow down. So we'll see how things go. Perhaps a small slowdown, but nothing to the point, if you're a buyer, you're not going to go out and get a deal. It's not one that I wouldn't bank on, all of a sudden the market turning completely around and being able to pick up a property at, percent below market value and being the only bidder. I still think we're going to face strong price, not necessarily perhaps appreciation, but definitely stability. And it's still going to be a brisk market in the seller's favor. I think at best, we're going to get to a balanced market here in the next month or two. That's just my guess. We'll see how things play out. I'll keep you guys posted. If you have specific questions about your home, your community, your HOA in hyperlocal market, I'm happy to provide statistics on that and let you know what I'm seeing on the ground. Just reach out anytime. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Friday and weekend, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.